Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
It's your main man, 360 the Poet from the Morning Wood. And are you looking for the perfect drink? Well, you found it. Mimosa Royale is the perfect combination of California sparkling white wine and natural juice that is both tasty and refreshing. No artificial colors or flavors, no sugar added, and it's gluten-free. As the world's first ready-to-drink mimosa, Mimosa Royale is perfect for any occasion, day or night. You no longer have to drink 12 of those seltzers just to get that perfect buzz. At 8% alcohol, Mimosa Royale is the perfect drink to party with. Offered in a variety of flavors and sizes, you are bound to find a Mimosa Royale that you'll love. We have berry, mango, apple, and orange, with more flavors to come. Mimosa Royale is the most award-winning flavored wine that serves in bottles or cans. You can find them online at drinkmimosa.com or find them at your local liquor store. Ask for it by name. Mimosa Royale.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Cheryl Underwood, and you're tuned into the hottest news station on the planet, Hot 702.5.
Yeah. You already know what it is. You know what it is. It's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. So it's time to HOLLA, ATTHA. HOMIE. It's time to holla at the homie, y'all. That's what's up. What's happening? What you doing? Where you at? And where you at? And what you doing? Well, we know where I'm at. I'm right here at hot7025fm.com, live and direct, like you find me each and every Wednesday between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock my time. That means 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock starting in the Central and the East, going till 6 and 7 respectively. Now, you know who I am. I'm the homie, 360 the Poet, and I'm in the building just like the lobby, and I'm always in this thing back like a wedgie. And you know how we do. We bounce back like a good pot of cooked crack. That's a shout out to the homegirl, Ikaris. She loves when I say that one right there because she gets it. She gets it. She knows what that means. Actually, she doesn't, but it's okay. I'm not going to tell a soul. But we got special guests in the building today. Y'all may see my shirt. It say no sugar in my grits. So you know that's today's sponsor. Today's sponsor in part by No Sugar in My Grits. And we actually happen to have the founder, the creator, the driving force behind No Sugar in My Grits. And I want to show you, I want to invite him in here, Mr. Javon Banks. So I'm going to add him onto the stream right here for you all. So I want him to tell you who he is, what he's all about, and stuff like that. And then we'll go from there into what we have as our today's Holla at the Homie. But Javon Banks, welcome to the show. First and foremost, I'm going to clap it up for you. So I got to give a big congratulations. So you are the newly minted young men's head basketball coach at Valley High School right here in the 702, right here in the desert. If y'all don't know where we at, we right here in the hottest station in the land, but also one of the hottest cities in the damn land. Man. But it ain't that hot yet. But welcome to the show, Javon. So tell us who you are, what you all about, man. Tell us about No Sugar in My Grits and what that really means.
I appreciate the shout out. I'm the man trying to get next to the man. You know what? I'm born and raised here in Vegas, and I'm just, trying to navigate through life like everybody else in their situations. And I just happen to be blessed to be the head coach, as you just stated, at my alma mater, 97 Valley Vikings.
Dang, that's real.
It's a rich history there from my family. My uncles, two of my uncles, and my aunt. The first McDonald's All-American to come out of there was my uncle, and so I guess it was some
Name
shoes.
Drop.
Yeah, the fearless Freddie Banks.
There you go, fearless Freddie Banks.
Who still holds the record in the Final Four for 10 3-pointers.
Dang.
Back in '87.
So Steph didn't get him at Davidson, huh?
No, they didn't get him. So I've seen some players that dropped 10 in regular college games, but this is the Final Four.
Four, that's the difference.
Yeah, so that's who I am, man. I'm just trying to, I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
I like starting things and seeing how they progress and watch them grow.
Okay.
And so this is no sugar in my grits is another one of my concepts. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, that's where we at.
So no sugar in my grits. So what's that mean? 'Cause there's a lot of people out there may be thinking like, well, I want sugar in my grits, or some people like, that's gross. You're not my friend if you got sugar in your grits. Like, you never know. So tell us, what is, you're the driving force behind it, but what made you say this is my statement? And I want, because it's a question grabber.
Absolutely.
It makes you say like,
right,
what do
so
you
many
mean?
Different
like
ways.
so many different ways. Like no sugar in my grits. What does that mean? Like, so tell us a little bit more about what is this movement?
Absolutely. I want to say it's twofold, but it's multiple fold.
Okay.
And obviously we know the great debate. Do you put sugar in your grits?
Everybody asks that.
And so as a kid, I did.
Okay.
Put sugar in my grits with butter and all of that. And then what I like to say is when I matured.
Okay.
Then I tried the shrimp and grits and one of my, I don't even know if it's a love language, but I'm going to call it a love language. One of my love languages is I like to cook for others.
Yes.
Especially the people that I love and allow them to try my love.
Okay.
In a sense of food. And so one of the things my dad, may rest in peace, before, he would always tell me, always cook with love. Mm-hmm. And so I always make sure that when I cook, like I'm not going to the store and I'm buying a diced up, bell peppers. I'm probably going to slice them up myself.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a form of cooking in love. And so this is one of the things that I wanted to try, and trying different things with toppings of grits, whether it's shrimp and lobster with grits, whether it's oxtails. That's what I did for Mother's Day. Oxtails and grits.
Oh, I bet that, man, the bone just left at the bottom of the bowl because you just had to eat the grits and the oxtails from around it.
Man, my grandmother couldn't stop the bone.
Oxtails, you can nibble on that gristle a little bit.
Oh, she was on that thing. She was on that thing. So, different things, ribs, brisket. There's different kinds, other than the typical shrimp and grits. Let's try something different.
And with those, you better not put no sugar in any of those.
You can't do it.
It's blasphemy. But like you, as a child, because grits were thrust upon me as a child, just because the texture as a kid is not my jam.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my granny and my granddaddy, God rest them, they was like, well, try this, sprinkle a little sugar.
Absolutely.
And from then on,
I
needed grits.
I
put sugar in my rice, all of that, right? But then, like you say, you try. When I was a child, I walked as a child, I performed as a child, I became an adult, I put away my childish things. So now I don't need it. If I happen to put it on there, it's just because it's nostalgia.
Right.
Nostalgia. Exactly. But if I'm doing red beans and rice,
oh man,
I gotta sprinkle a little bit of sugar on
really?
It. I do just because and I don't know whether that's because their palates.
I haven't tried that one actually.
But just not a whole, not like
just
douse
just a little bit,
just like sugar bait, sugar bait. You know what I mean? Like on my red beans and rice. You know what I mean? Because it adds, because you got the onions and all those different type of flavors in there. So that makes like a Vidalia onion almost.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, you know what I mean? And like I say, it's an acquired taste. It's a preferred taste, like sugar in the grits. But like you say, so I get that. I get it. So you showing your grow up.
Yeah.
You showing your grow up.
And so that ultimately came because I'll say this. I had to grow up in my personal life.
Okay.
And so going through therapy, I'm a fan of therapy.
Yes.
I know that as a black community, therapy was not a thing. Like I don't want them. I don't want the shrink or them in my business. I don't want the white man in my business. That type of vibe. And so we failed as a culture to get the help that we need from maybe childhood traumas and even teenage traumas and even adult traumas.
Yeah,
we failed to get the therapy that we need so that we can move forward. And so I had to grow up.
Yeah,
I had to grow up in a lot of areas of my life, and I'll tell you, my fiance's uncle, I put her through some stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And my fiance's uncle, he questioned me. He said, "What kind of man do you want what kind of man of God do you want to be? And nobody had ever posed that question to me. And I was like, I grew up in church. I seen my grandfather and my grandmother married. They'll be like 69 years this year, God willing, in July. But and even though I may have had some of the resources there, I didn't tap into them, didn't think I could tap into them. I think we just assumed because they'd been together for so long, the love was always there, not understanding what they had gone through to get to the point where they're at now. And so when he posed that question to me, that one hit.
Okay.
What kind of man do you want to be in God? That's what it was. Yeah. And so I had to think about it. And, my fiance always calls me king. And I just thought that was cliche. Because, exactly. I thought that was cliche. Everybody, king, queen, I thought that was the era that we're in, and everybody's on that type of tip. And then I thought about it. I really sat down and thought about it. I said, you know what? I've never, as a king, we rule over many things. We rule over our region. We rule over our finances. We rule over our families. Rule over our finances.
And royalty is a state of mind.
Exactly. And I'm learning that because I'm not there yet, but I'm learning it. And so with that, I said, well, that's what I want to be. And so I've journeyed. During this journey, I've had to put some things in place so that I can move forward in that. Okay. I'm not all the way there, and I got a long way to go. But I know where I'm going now.
We're all Legos, man.
Yeah, I know where I'm going now. You know what I mean? I think before it was kind of one of those things. I had a vision for everything else.
Yeah.
I had a vision for my business. I had a vision for this. I had a vision for that. But I never had a vision for myself. And so I even had a vision for what I wanted in a woman, like even almost to the height.
Yeah. We all got those, like. And in those, that's what I'm big on like advocating to people is with those things you get a 360-degree view of what you want.
Right.
But of yourself, you have to be willing to receive the 6.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah. The 180 that you don't have a sight on.
Yep.
Because even if I turn around this way now, I can't see what's behind me still.
Yeah.
You need to have the ability to absorb the view from the 6.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm not talking Drake and not talking about nothing. I'm talking about from your 6.
Yep.
And therapy is part of that.
Yep.
If it's, or having a person like that you put your belief in, your faith and your trust in, that they have your best interest at heart.
Yep.
And even with those things, it gets into what we're talking about today, some like the boundaries and stuff that you want to set. But when you're accepting that view from your 6, then you have to put boundaries up around you in other places at times. So,
absolutely.
And that kind of gets us into where we're going today. So so that's what's up. So I appreciate you for being that person. And like you say, and I'm pretty sure you've had multiple answers to what kind of man of God do you want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like the God within you. Because anybody who knows me knows I'm one of the ones who I advocate spirituality over religious. And because I believe whatever entity you believe in, believe in it, run with it, because you believe in a higher purpose and consequences and karma and things of that nature. My representation just happens to be of a Christian faith, but if you're Muslim, you're Buddhist, whatever your faith may be in, then believe in it, because in that you have to find out what kind of man in that journey do you want to be.
Absolutely.
And I respect, you say your fiance's uncle. I respect Unc for even, because a lot of times we don't get people to ask us those questions in our community.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because in other communities, they may ask them, but they ask them in a different way. Like, what do you want to be? Like, but with us, you got to get into the core.
Well, here's the thing. We all probably grew up in church, like most of us.
Like most of us, yeah.
And it gave us a foundation, for who we are as a people. And we always assumed, it was always said, go to the altar, get your deliverance, right? And so we just assume if I go up there, and of course, prayer is a big part of the deliverance, right? It helps with discipline. But there's a practical side of it. I can go to the altar all I want to, but if I'm not willing to change and talk to somebody who's a professional about what I need to change, because I don't always know what I need to change. And I don't even
Can't
know.
always see it.
Yeah, I don't always, because I'm so engraved into it. I can't see it. And so, and then you don't even think about the childhood traumas that you've dealt with until they're brought to the forefront. So you can't move forward into certain things until you have dealt with the things of the past that are holding you back.
Like they say, the old cliche, you can't see the forest because of the trees.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? You can't see the whole totality of it because each individual part that's in the way, per se,
Yep.
you know, and good deal. All right, cool. So y'all know where we are, what we do, and how we do it here. We at right here at hot7025fm.com, and it's Holla at the Homie. It's a Wednesday afternoon right here in sunny Las Vegas, and I'm talking to Mr. Javon Banks. On Instagram, he's at the real Javon Banks. At Facebook, Javon Banks, just regular Javon Banks, right? Yep. The newly minted head coach of his alma mater, Valley High School Vikings. But we're gonna talk, and as y'all know, as each and every week, we've got somebody who writes into us and they talk to us about something that's going on in their chest. Some people that got going on in their chest. Big up to Tavon Greatness Patterson. I see you chiming in. Mr. Al Rich, what's happening? Let me see. And somebody said that shirt is a lie. He got to put sugar in his grits. That's Al. That's it. What's up? Shy Kyler, what's going on? Robert Cool. But yeah, back to the stuff. You know, we got somebody each and every week. They send us in a letter, and I print it out because I don't be fooling with computers and too many at the same time, all these double, triple screens. I've been and got lost and unplugged myself from the Matrix. So we're going to dive into this week's letter. It says, hey, homie, I've been struggling with something that I found that more people than not struggle with as well. I have a difficult time setting personal boundaries with my family and closest friends. Anybody who knows how I operate knows that I love my personal space and my personal time. To the typical person, I don't have any issues with declaring it and claiming it for myself. Only thing is, when it comes down to getting those closest to me to respect those boundaries, things never go according to plan. No matter how much I hem and haw and insinuate to my family that they are tap dancing on my last nerve, it's as either they ignore me or they simply don't get the hint. For the most part, I'm pretty reserved, laid back kind of gal. Okay, so they told us what they were. Don't get me wrong, I can get crunk with the best of them if I get riled up, if I have to, but if I had to be classified as something, it would be more bite than bark. So, and my avoidance of any sort to this confrontation is what I call my attempt to prevent from ruining relationships. What I mean by this is if I go off and snap on the ones that I care about the most in regards to violating my boundaries, I'm not sure how I or we would be able to recover from that. Because I wasn't really blessed with a feelings filter, and once I let the words out, it's like the floodgates open, and I don't know how in the barrage of words or when the barrage of words will stop. So instead of jeopardizing my social and emotional cornerstones, I sit somewhat in silence and continue to hint around the things that I dislike and make me feel metaphorically claustrophobic, with the hopes that the message will be received. That's where you come in, homie. I'm hoping something within your response will ignite a spark in me and assist me with not only the words to say, but also the time in which to deliver it. Sincerely, I need boundaries like a border wall.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So she's talking about her family.
Yeah, so she's talking about basically her family. She didn't name anybody.
Right.
She said the ones closest to her. So her family, her friends, her family, because she put in air quotes. I love people when I love air quotes. Air quotes is like my favorite thing. I love air quotes. And like she said, her family, so it's like the people that are closest to her. And so with that being said, I'm going to let you dive into it.
Okay.
So in regards to boundaries, right? How do you go about, or what have you found is the most successful routes in setting healthy boundaries?
Man, so we're talking about, let's just talk about it in general. Setting boundaries, I would tell you, to be transparent, that is something that I'm still trying to figure out. Mm-hmm. I think as a people, you always want people to like you.
Yes.
And I think that's part of the problem. And it sounds like that's what she's dealing with as well. She wants to set those boundaries, but she wants her people to still like her and love her for who she is. But ultimately, it's kind of one of those things, you know, the cliche, if you ain't got nothing good to say, then don't say it at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take a step back, whether especially when it's close family and friends, take a step back, maybe go off grid for a little bit, ignore them, before you do say something that you can't bring back. Words, life and death are in the power of the tongue. And so I'm a strong believer in the words that we put out can be detrimental to certain things. And so I think we have to be careful with what we say. So, yeah, taking a step back first and foremost to say, okay, let me think about this because maybe I'm angry and I may say something that I don't really mean to say. And a lot of times, even as coaches, we say, don't listen to what we deliver. Don't listen to how we deliver it. Listen to what we deliver. But the problem is, ultimately, we deliver it in a wrong way. And so just human nature, we're going to accept that the way you delivered it. And so I think we got to take that into consideration of how we deliver certain things. And so I think the communication piece is key. Now, if it's somebody, let's talk about, it's somebody you don't need to have boundaries with. I mean, you know what I mean? you need to figure out how to block that person from all sources that that's imaginable.
It ain't nothing to cut it.
You know what I mean? And so, that's one of the things that I'm learning. You gotta block people, cut people off, as in whatever way that you possibly think they can get a hold of you, because that could be detrimental to your growth as well. But I definitely think how you communicate to those people that you need to set those boundaries with when it comes to family, just communication. Listen, I used to have a thing where I used to think I had to tell you why I'm leaving an event. Why, I figure I had to.
Not no more.
Yeah, so exactly. So now, like me and my fiance, we have this thing where it's like we have code words too. I'm not gonna even tell y'all what it is.
Because you're gonna say it. We're gonna be somewhere.
Yeah, we gonna keep it, and they gonna know. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Stuff in house.
Well, a friend of mine, you say keep something for Jesus.
Right,
so you know what I mean. So I'll keep it out for Jesus right there. But that's between me and her of what it is. But we have these. So I literally used to think like, okay, let me think of how I'm gonna get out of this event, this situation.
Yeah.
And you're an adult. And I just, listen, I showed up, I'm out. I don't need an explanation.
You don't.
But and I think as a people, we wanted that validation. And that was one of the things that I had to deal with and learn in therapy is, a lot of things that I did was because of validation. And I'm still growing that, but I don't need the validation from people to say, hey, it's okay for you to leave or okay to set these boundaries, okay, do this and that. I think we have to grow up from that, of needing that validation. And I think, and I don't want to say, maybe it is a black male thing. Some of us have been beat down a lot in society in some things. And that's not necessarily my case, but I think we just wanted to be validated.
But understandable. Validation does mean a lot.
Yeah.
Some of the notes I took on this letter was like one of the things that that she talked about. Miss, I need boundaries like a border wall. Like, first of all, that's funny as hell to me. Like, yo, that's your name. Like damn, that's like, do we need the wall?
Right.
That's the question.
Right.
And then, but if you need boundaries, so maybe you don't. Like that right there itself, it threw me off because it was a double entendre in itself, but it was funny, but like at the confusing. But my thing, back to my notes, like what I was saying here is like, do you, like one thing before you go set boundaries, I tell this to anybody, before you set boundaries for anyone else, make sure you know that the ones you're setting apply to you as well. Make sure you can adhere to those boundaries, because like if you're building this boundaries or border wall or what have you, and then you turn right back around and do something that's detrimental to it staying up, then what was the purpose of doing it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So what was the purpose of having them boundaries? What's up, Dak? What's up, Icarus? What's going on? MVP speaks. But like you gotta ask yourself from time to time, like, do I know what these boundaries totally consist of? And that's one thing. You got to know if you're putting up a wall, what are you fencing in? What are you keeping out? So are you preventing yourself from a certain type of growth just because you don't want somebody else infringing upon your space? That's one thing. Because, I always say, let me give my disclaimer as always. I have not been clinically trained and or educated on being anybody's psychologist, psychiatrist, and or counselor. But what we have done is we've lived life and then also vicariously sponged up some game from others around us, and we spitting it back out to y'all. And like I always tell you, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you options.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So back, with that being said, like I try to be angels and devils advocate in this all, saying like, make sure before you ask for these boundaries that you're okay with them being thrust back upon you.
Right.
Not only by the person in which you're putting boundaries up with, but by others who may see you having the ability and the strength and growing from your strength. Steel sharpens steel. We want to each one teach one and reach one. Like if somebody sees your growth and setting boundaries, then they may set somebody else may set some with you.
Yeah.
So with that being said, make sure that you're ready for the type of isolation that may put you into. If those boundaries aren't really applicable to how you operate and move.
Yeah, I think that's the scary part for us is that isolation.
Yeah,
and they acting funny. You ain't don't worry about me. You know what I mean?
Do you?
Yeah, do you?
Do you?
So I think we get I feel like the young lady is afraid that she's gonna lose them and the relationship if she sets those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's if you set these boundaries, can you accept what's gonna come with it? And you gotta be in a position to where you gotta be like, you know what? I'm going to another level. I don't think any less of y'all, but where I'm going, everybody can't go with me. And so you got to be okay with setting those boundaries and moving up without the people who you may have been around. And maybe over time, y'all reconnect, especially if you're good family and friends. You know what I mean? They got to understand.
If you ever had a bond with somebody and that bond wasn't broken, but just relocated, repositioned, you know what I mean? Y'all may have been back to back at one point,
right.
But at another point, y'all may be fingertips apart. Still on the same team.
Right.
You just operating in a different space. You and y'all in a different lane than one another. And like that's what she said. Like she didn't want to destroy the relationships or ruin the relationships. But that's one thing you gotta. If we said we gotta rewind back to what we said first. I always tell people communication is a two-way street.
Right.
Meaning you have to absorb while what you're listening, not listen to respond to what the person is saying. You listen to absorb, take on what they have to say back. There may be a reason in which they thrust themselves upon you. You may be there, if she said here, that they're her social and mental cornerstones, emotional and social cornerstones. Meaning, so if they're your cornerstones, these are people who you rock with, who are part of your foundation.
Right.
So now, are these boundaries? Are they just getting on your damn nerves?
Right.
That you got to ask yourself: are they just getting on your damn nerves, or is it something that, and these are real questions. It's like she said, with a normal person, it's no issue with her being able to back up and express what boundaries I need my space. Give me 50 feet type thing. But with the one she cares about and loves the most, it's like, what do I say? And like you say, some smacks you can't take back, but at the same time, you can take it if it's explained.
Yeah.
I can take somebody slapping me if you're like, well, why you slap? Without going in on them, if somebody I love, I'm like, why you slap me for? If they tell me why, and I'll be like, I might have deserved that slap. Yeah. Mentally, metaphorically, whatever the case may be. But it's like, where I think she's dropping the ball. Where I'm looking at her dropping the ball is she says she hems and haws and hints around it. Because you can't expect people to know what you want.
Everybody's not a mind reader.
Nobody.
Or prophet and all of that. But I think the issue is, like you said, the communication.
Yeah.
How she presents it.
Yeah.
And not present it in a way, you got to tell them everything, you know what I mean? But you got to present it into the way where they understand it and where they receive it and y'all can still maintain that relationship. You just may need a break.
Yeah.
And if they really your friends and family like that, they'll understand. Like, listen, man, I understand you need to take a step back from everything and everybody. It's nothing personal. This is where I'm at. I need to reevaluate some things in my life. Not saying I'm reevaluating our relationship. This is where I'm at. I just need to reevaluate everything.
And that's that. You hit the nail on the head right there, Javon. Like, the thing about it is, people need to take ownership of their part in the discomfort.
Right.
That's what I put right here. I said, take ownership in what it is what ingredients you put in the pot to make it be, to make it not settle.
Yeah.
You have
She sugarcoating it.
She
putting sugar in the grits.
Are you putting sugar on the grits, Miss? I need boundaries like a border wall. See how
she put
the universe bring everything back full
She put
circle.
sugar in the grits.
She put
sugar in the grits. I'm gonna need her to grow up a little bit, mature a little bit.
And like Dakari says, we say more with silence. Move in silence and don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, which is true. I get that as well. But we all know, like, it's easy to do that with the average bear, to move in silence. But if it's your squad, your tribe, your family, if they real family, they checking on.
But I think that's the hard part, because you're always afraid to hurt the people closest to you. Like, even though it should be said or something should be done, it's like, man, I don't want to hurt them.
Never want to put pain on.
Yeah, so it has to be done, but it's like, how do I portray this to them and not – the reality is they're probably going to take it personal because you guys are so close. But you still – but here's the thing. I used to feel like I had to carry burdens for my childhood traumas. And so I was always afraid to go to certain people within my family and close people and explain to them what I went through. I carried that burden as long as I could.
Right.
But I didn't want to hurt them by telling them that they were part of that burden. And so I think that's the problem, is we're taking on everybody's burden.
Yeah.
And we don't have to. And I learned that in therapy, of course.
Of course we do.
But I think that's what a lot of it is. You don't want to hurt the people that are close to you. So you feel, I'm going to carry this burden as long to the grave.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what kills you.
And because you've carried it to the grave, it pushed you further and further down into the grave.
Yeah.
Because it's on your shoulders, and you trying to stand tall and answer every question possible, right? But then it's like you're not asking the right ones. Like, one of my notes I put down here is, like, she said it started making her feel like metaphorically claustrophobic, right? Mm-hmm. And I said right here, that could lead to other issues with your health, with your mind, with the physical issues, right? But I said what you need to do is decompress, release, stop holding it in. Yeah. That's part of that communication. It's like one big ass burp.
It is.
Like, whenever you got like a gas bubble and you just need to drink like a squirt or a 7-Up or something that's going to give you that booger on Revenge of the Nerds burp, you need that metaphorically when you talk to your boundaries needing individuals. And it doesn't have to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Because communication doesn't have to be aggressive. Because when I'm talking to you, I'm not aggressive because I'm not talking at you. When I'm aggressive, I'm talking at you because you're a lot of it you're bouncing off because you're trying to knock down some of the sound barrier of that. But when I'm talking to you, it's easier for you to receive that.
So one of my ventures, my successful business, is a funeral home. I own a funeral home.
Very nice.
Called Inspire Life Memorials and Cremations. And we see a lot of the causes of death. And a lot of it is from the heart.
Stress.
Yeah. And you get a lot of people say, we weren't expecting it. Yeah, because that person was stressed and they were afraid to release those burdens. Mm-hmm. They were afraid to tell everybody how they felt. Like again, you don't have to tell everything, but the longer you hold on to it, it's internally killing you.
Yeah.
And I for me, man, I'm a living witness because I used to hold a lot in, and I got to a point one time where I just went off. You know what I mean? F you, F this, F, because I held it in. And so it's like that burp.
See?
I'm a burp, and it's gonna be that Revenge of the Nerds. That was one of the movies that
That's what I'm saying.
It's long and it's hardcore and it's big and it affects everybody around you.
It does, because it comes off as aggression almost,
Yeah.
And it's not fair to the people around you. But then again, at that point, it's not fair to you to hold it in either.
It's not.
You're dusting. You're killing yourself.
Yeah.
Like when we hold this stuff in, like it's more pressure. Gas is a pressure. Gas can kill you.
Yep.
People have died from gas.
Gas, man.
They say that's what killed Elvis. So they
crazy.
died on the toilet from gas back
Better
up.
out than in.
It's more room. I say that all the time. I tell my wife, babe, it's more room outside
Right.
than in. She gets mortified if I even burp, right? Like, babe, you're gross. Hey, it's more room outside this little body
right.
than inside, okay? Because I'm not holding it in.
Right.
I'm not holding it. I'm not holding in my boundaries. But it took me a while to be able to learn how to, because, again, you don't want to be the person that's, like, brushing anybody off.
Yeah.
You never want to be that one. Like, like if it's social or emotional concerns that you have, it's because these people are attached to you in both of those areas. And if somebody's attached to you in multiple areas, that means they're a part of you.
They're part of you. Yeah.
Like if you just associate with somebody, they're an associate.
easy.
But
That's
if they're
easy.
connected to you in multiple ways, they are essentially a part of you.
Yeah.
And to hurt them is to hurt you. And that's where a lot of people get afraid with setting the boundaries, because they don't want to hurt the people that's there, but because they know it hurts their own feelings.
The problem with that is you're hurting yourself, like we said. And we know hurt people hurt other people. So we have to be cognizant of that.
Yes.
And we do it unintentionally. It's just we don't know because we've held it in for so long and we don't know how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So we've got to let go of those things that are holding us back or they're weighing us down.
Yeah.
We got to let go of those things so that we can, we can be well within. So,
right. Like I got somebody here saying expectations will kill the donkey. Like meaning, you expected something,
Oh, man.
you waiting on it. A donkey gonna die, and a donkey is like the most durable, most hard-working animal there is out there. The mule is stubborn, but you know what I mean. But they work.
Yeah.
And while while you waiting on somebody to get on board with you, again, you're stressing yourself out.
listen, there's this guy, I used to listen to Gary Vee. Gary Vee he's this motivational speaker. He's real. He's himself. He is who he is. And he explained to me, because we all have this expectation of people, even ourselves.
Yeah.
And so when either we don't meet those expectations or the person that we're associated with doesn't meet that expectation, we have disappointment and hurt. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, I've learned to not necessarily get rid of expectation altogether.
Right.
But some people, I don't have those same expectations anymore. And so it eliminates or helps eliminate some of the hurt and disappointment that we've gone through in the past. So yeah, expectation can be rough, man.
It can. Because that in itself, your expectation is a form of stress.
Yeah.
You're forcing yourself to wait.
Yep.
It kind of goes into what we were talking about last week. We were talking about scheduling sex, right? Last week's subject was how do you go about talking to your partner about scheduling sex? And then we start talking about ejaculation control and stuff like that. Those expectations,
Right.
Tipping it, rimming it, whatever you want to call it, is pressure on your heart. Anything where your blood is flowing, excitement, adrenaline, that's heart stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're too excited, you know what I mean? I was excited to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's real.
That's a real thing.
That's real. I was scared to death.
Yeah.
Those are real possibilities. When people say stress can kill you, especially in our community.
It's true.
Because it's so many internal stresses that we face. And then if we're so fortunate enough to be able to talk to somebody, I'm not even talking about those of us who've gone, and talk to a person outside, a counselor, somebody who actually went to school
Right.
to talk to me about the things that I'm going through. Like sometimes Ray don't have the answers, and then am I really gonna be all the way open with Ray
Right.
because he know me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and he gonna tell me, and now her feelings gonna be hurt. Like, these are different things. You don't really open up to everybody that's in your circle that you feel comfortable enough to talk to. So if you happen to have somebody that you can, in my neighborhood, we say, let me breathe on you. If you got somebody that you can breathe on, then that's good. But if you step outside of that and you go get a person and ask them, a non-objective individual.
Yeah.
They don't have no skin in the game. Some people are like, well, they just gonna tell me whatever to keep me coming back. Well, you the one got to start the conversation.
Right.
You don't just go sit there at a counselor or therapist and be like, all right, fix my life.
Yeah. For me, outside of my fiance and my therapist, I have maybe 2 or 3 people within my close circle that I know their vaults. If they're gonna hold me accountable, and they be like, "Look, man, you effed up," or and I can tell them, "Hey, man, this is how I'm feeling," and it's gonna stay there. At least it has stayed there,
right,
up to this point. And they're good friends, and listen, they've gone through their stuff, I've gone through my stuff, and we hold each other accountable. And I think that's the problem is we don't. It's a trust issue. Can I trust you? Can I trust my information to you and you not go and tell such and such down the street? And that's always a hard thing. And the people who you think you can trust, sometimes you can't. You know what I mean?
Listen.
So it's just one of those things. But here's what I said, man. Everybody has to have a Judas in the camp.
Elaborate on that. Tell me a little more.
If you don't have a Judas, you don't have a promise. I used to preach that all the time. Without a Judas, and let's talk about Bible. If we didn't have Judas, then does Jesus go on the cross? Who points Jesus out? Judas. If we don't have a Judas,
I remember Nipsey Hussle said that in one of his albums.
Yeah. So if we don't have if you don't have a Judas within your camp, and you don't have to have it all the time. I mean, once you get to a point, you start learning your circles and you start adding wisdom to it. Listen, this ain't looking right. Let me get rid of him before him or her before I get to that point. But I think a lot of times to elevate, sometimes we got to have that Judas. And so once you start learning what that looks like, I think you become more cognizant and you have wisdom at that point. And it helps you with boundaries.
Okay.
It helps you with boundaries. And so I think now I'm at a point in my life where I have a very, 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 very tight circle.
Okay.
Even my family. I don't associate necessarily with all my family. They don't know everything that I have going on in my businesses. They don't know everything I have going on in my relationships. And the other reason is I have a therapist. I can bounce stuff off of her, that I may not want to tell everybody else. She don't have any skin in the game. So I think I think that helps with boundaries as well. But yeah, just to, keeping a tight circle, man. So we don't go nowhere. Me and my fiance, we don't do nothing. If we doing something, it's together. Yeah. We hanging out. You know what I mean? We on the scooters, riding down the neighborhood.
hanging out like a hubcap in the fast lane,
You know what I mean?
Man.
So look, we have this thing. That's my BFF.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
And that's a good thing to have. To be able to have that, the circle in itself, it's continuous, right? People are like, well, if they're in your circle, then how you going to get them out? Like, easy.
Yeah.
Easy. It'll warp, it'll come back together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it opens up enough to let them fall out.
Yeah.
And then those around us come back together and heal once again. So, but with those boundaries, setting boundaries. And for those of y'all that's just joining us, we're talking about setting boundaries for your family and your friends, right? We got a listener /writer who wrote us in and talked about like how, talking to other people is easy to set her boundaries. But when it comes down to talking to her family and her close friends, she just hints around it. So, I'm here with special guest in the house, Javon Banks, No Sugar in My Grits, amongst many other things. We talking about how to set boundaries with people and how good ways of setting healthy ones. And we talked about mainly communication. Communication is the foundation of it all. Being able to talk, being able to listen, and being able to receive and accept what other people have to say back to you. That's one thing. Like, it's easy to throw a punch, but can you take one?
Right.
That's you can't say you can fight until you can take a punch.
Right.
That's and he just dropped a jewel on me just a second ago. If you don't have no Judas, you don't have no promise. And I was like, oh, let me tick tock. I like to sit on stuff for a little bit. I like to let it settle in. So I'm probably going to write something about that. You already know me. 360 the Poet, THAPOET. You know what that means. Tenacity, heart, and attitude present opportunities every time. And that's what we doing. We presenting opportunities for all of y'all out there in the listening land to get your questions answered. So we also had Dakari talk about how we move better in silence and we say more without saying anything. We got Ikaris talking about, it's time to set some boundaries. Once you cross that line, bye, child, bye forever. Ain't no rekindle later. Nah, forget that. And we also talking to Javon Banks, and he said how like you got to have a Judas in your circle in order for you to recognize your promise. He said you don't have to have it all the time, but in order for you to know that you're on a growth level, on a growth pattern, you got to be able to have somebody that's not for you. Because I look at that, I love being the underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
same.
Yeah. I love being the underdog, and it seems like our writer is an underdog in this situation. So I'm going to try to teach her and explain to her some of the options. Again, never telling anybody what they're doing, just giving you options of how to use your underdog position to become victorious in your situation. Meaning, like miss, I need boundaries like a border wall. Like first we talked about, you got to be able to recognize and understand in their totality what these boundaries are. What are the boundaries that you want? And you can't guess around them. You can't hint around them. You have to stand on your 10 toes and say, whew, let that breath out. Burp, get it out, because it seems as if it's boiling in you. So I appreciate, as always, like to appreciate anybody who takes the time out to either listen, to write, to comment, to come in and sit down with me, all of the above. I'm always thankful for it, because without y'all, with no audience, it wouldn't be me to be able to perform. But with her, it seems as if she's battling with herself. And knowing those boundaries, what they are within yourself, is your first step, I believe, in being able to navigate through the puddles in which you got going on, So anybody else that's out there that's listening, if you have an issue with setting boundaries, first and foremost, recognize them, what they are, and be willing to receive them coming back to you, not only from the person in which you're putting them on, but from others around you who may have seen your example. Javon, what else you got to say about boundaries and what you think about once they're set? This is another question.
You got to stand on it.
Yeah, once you set them,
stand on it,
what about that teeter totter and back and forth over the steeplechasing?
You got to stand on those boundaries. If that's what you set in place, you got to stand on it, because when you teeter totter, like you said, it confuses everybody. And so you cannot play around with that. And some of us are still learning those things, but you got to stand on it, stand your ground. And I think that's what helps your boundaries. But and I think what happens is we get caught up in, I don't want to hurt them. But listen, these are the boundaries. They're in place for a reason.
For a reason.
Yeah, and so for your safety, for the people around you, their safety, for everybody's safety.
Everybody's safety.
You need to stand on those boundaries, man. And I like what I think Dakari said about moving in silence.
Yeah, in silence. He said you move better in silence. One
of the things that I learned is everybody wants to. We want our lives on social media, and I get it, and I think that comes from validation as well, for some of us. And some of us use it for business purposes, as a vehicle for business. But you can move in silence. It's okay to move in silence, and still come back 6 months later, 9 months later, you'll be a whole different person.
You heard the great philosopher, Dwayne Carter. He said, real G's move in silence like lasagna. That was a hard ass line. That's one of my favorite Lil Wayne lines. He said, "Real G's move in silence like lasagna."
Yeah.
And then when you have to go back and think about that, be like, ooh, like, you know. So yeah, be lasagna, be the G in lasagna, move in silence.
Man, that's what we had for Father's Day this weekend.
Oh man,
lasagna.
Father's Day. Oh man, my wife actually. She said, "Babe, I want barbecue, but I don't want you to have to do it. So can you teach me?"
Oh, wow.
So it was a teaching moment.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, it was the dopest.
That's pretty cool.
Oh my
right
God, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it.
Yeah.
Babe, and she threw down. Like, I'm low key, because like we be battling about who's the best cook, right? You know what I mean? And I always had the grill over her. Like, you ain't fooling with that grill though. Step out to the fire. And now she stepped out to the fire, and her food was fire. I'm scared.
So y'all not the only one that have cooking battles,
What?
right? Man, me and my fiance, she thinks she can
and they
cook.
always think
you know
they
what I mean?
can
Like
outcook
she
us,
think her
man.
shrimp and grits better than my shrimp and grits. I mean, listen, it's a very close
Comparable.
Yeah, you know, it's very, very close. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm cooking with white wine in my grits. You know what I mean? Like, she ain't ready for that. She just probably using seasonings.
Don't
but,
tell
you
her
know,
the secrets.
No, I ain't gonna tell all the secrets. You know, I gotta keep
Save
some for Jesus. But that's a little bit of it, you know. But yeah, so yeah, man, I like the competition. You know, I like to be the underdog.
Yeah, man, and being the underdog is always a good thing because if you're an underdog with confidence.
Yeah.
Now, like one of my favorite quotes ever in the world is Marcus Garvey, right? I learned it from a house party CD way back in 1990 something, right? It says, "Without confidence, you are twice defeated in the race of life. But with confidence, you have won even before you have started."
Wow.
And like that right there, like, so if
Yeah.
you're an underdog and you got confidence, then that means when your victory is going to seem that much better because you anticipated it. You just didn't expect it.
Yeah.
You anticipated it. When you're like, when I win, I know. You know what I mean? So your confidence is like you going in expecting to do this, like you anticipating getting this victory, you know, as an underdog. But if you go as an underdog and your tail is tucked, then you become nothing but a footstool.
Yeah.
You know,
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Like
So Miss, I need boundaries like a border wall. I need you to be able to go in there. You may be an underdog in this situation with talking to your friends and family, but if you go in with the confidence, one, willing to absorb when you're conversing. You have to be willing to absorb. If you go in with that and with the confidence, knowing that what you have to say is going to be heard, then you'll be all right. You'll come out barking with the big dogs. I promise you will. You'll come out barking with the big dogs. So, you know, man, it's been cool having you on here, man. Let's not make this the last time you stop in here.
Anytime.
I'm pretty sure I'll have a couple more subjects to get your thoughts and, you know, interaction on. So before we get you out of here, tell the people where they can find you and tell them a little bit more about you. I know you're an entrepreneur of 7,000 different mans. You know what I mean? So,
so what's the term? I forgot it. Master of none.
Jack of all trades. Master of none.
Yeah, that's me right there. So I just, growing up, playing in basketball camps, never put your eggs in one basket. And I took that to heart.
Yeah.
And so, I have my main source of income, which is my funeral home, but then I have, some side things and things that I want to see and do in life. And cooking is one. I think my next venture might be, some pop-up restaurant or something like that, what I mean, called No Sugar in My Grits.
No sugar in my grits.
Listen, matter of fact, when we do it, we're not even going to have sugar in the building. So don't even, y'all, I'm going to need y'all to grow up, when you come to No Sugar in My Grits. But yeah, no, we like to have fun, man. You know what I mean? So you can find me at The Real Javon Banks. That's JEVON Banks at Instagram, and then on Facebook, Javon Banks, just simply Javon Banks. So, man, this has been a treat for me, man. It's been an honor to be on here with you, 360.
I appreciate it, man. Like, when we discussed the possibility of it happening, I got excited. You know what I mean? Just so it's because it's always, like I say, it's always good to sharpen your steel with other steel. You know what I mean? So, until next time, we always want to make sure that y'all get us Somebody said my shrimp and grits is better than his, but he's a much better chef than I am. So she conceded the apron title, but the shrimp and grits, she said, nah, bruh, pump your brakes like you're on the freeway at 3:30. But for all those, as always, I appreciate everybody out there that tuned in and tapped in with Holla at the Homie. We here each and every Wednesday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And as always, until next time, HOLLA. ATTHAHOMIE@gmail.com if you want to make sure you get those letters and stuff in. So until next time, as always, stay safe, peace and blessings. I'll get with y'all in a minute. Gone.
That was dope, bro. That was dope.